Hi, and welcome to Divine Resolution Tarot. This is your twin flame love reading for the month of November. So I've shuffled your deck, I've pulled your cards. This side is the feminine energy, this side is the masculine. Just so you know, it's not gender specific. So wherever you fall in this, you will have to decide for yourself. But usually I end up talking to whomever identifies as the divine feminine. So we're starting your reading off in the Three of Pentacles in reverse for the state of your relationship. The cards are showing me that it feels like not much is happening at this time. You're both closed off from one another, but I think what's interesting is it looks like one of you, and I'm guessing that it's the divine masculine based on what I'm seeing in this spread over here, is in the process of trying to separate themselves from someone who's not part of the twin flame relationship. So it looks like there could be a karmic energy involved here. It seems as though the divine masculine is in the process of trying to figure out where they want to be or what they want their life to look like. But this isn't something that's being communicated to the feminine at this time. It feels like the feminine is very focused on their money or their stability. There's something here around security, and it's almost like the feminine energy has withdrawn from the world, is what this looks like. It's not just the masculine, it's kind of everything. The feminine is really taking stock of like where they're at in their life, what their finances look like, maybe starting like a new workout routine or a new budget, some kind of new education. There's something here about the feminine being very focused on trying to become the best version of themselves rather than putting into the connection. And I feel like that's because the masculine has been out doing something else with someone else. And so the feminine has taken a step back. The cards here are showing me for your oracle that the feminine feels disconnected from the masculine. And then we have, I need you to say it in the reverse. So there's really nothing that it seems like the feminine is waiting for when it comes to this relationship. The feminine isn't in a space of like wanting communication, wanting to hear anything in particular. It's kind of like, I've seen everything there is to see, and now I need to move on with my life. What does that look like for me, right? Bottom of the feminine's oracle deck says, I feel like giving up on you. I'm picking up on a lot of anxiety at the moment, but I almost feel like this is coming from the masculine because there's a lot of depression in this spread as far as like what the masculine is going through. There's a lot of unhappiness, a lot of feeling very isolated from the group or a family structure, feeling isolated from maybe people that love them is what this looks like, or feeling like they've never really found the right place to be, the right group. This masculine is going through a really strange energy of feeling like they've always been in the wrong place. They've always been with the wrong people. Maybe they're looking at their life and thinking like they were born into the wrong family or that they chose the wrong friends. There's this really strange energy of isolation coming from the masculine's reading. But what's interesting is that the feminine is also going through a period of isolation as well. This isolation that the feminine is feeling is more self-imposed, kind of just like, I need to take a step back. I need to really pour into myself. Whereas with the masculine, this is coming through as like their ego isn't being fulfilled wherever they are. It's so weird. It's like with the feminine, they're really connected to their intuition. And so intuitively, they feel like they need to heal. They feel like the spaces that they're in are not conducive to their growth or their development. But it's not coming from a space of like, nobody sees how great I am, so I'm going to take myself out of the situation. It's like the environment I'm in doesn't see my value, so I'm not going to place blame on other people for not being in the same vibration as me. I'm just going to like gracefully remove myself from situations that are not in alignment with how I want to be treated. Whereas the masculine's coming through as almost having like this ego. I don't want to say ego death because it doesn't seem like I'm seeing the death of the ego. It's just more like this ego fueled tantrum of like, don't you see everything I do for you? How could these people not see my greatness and my value? And these people are all stupid, and I just need to be around people who see how wonderful I am. It's like the same energy, but two sides of the same coin, right? The feminine is retreating within, not because they need validation from an environment, but more like, I need to validate myself and I need to uplift myself so that I can get to a different place in my life and attract different people. Whereas the masculine is feeling like kicked out of the group, of wherever they are. And so it's almost like they're in this energy of, fine, I didn't want to be here anyway, right? I'm going to find other people that aren't as lame as you guys. Like, it's kind of juvenile. It's kind of childish, but it's very connected to like the 3D, right? Whereas the feminine is more connecting to their higher self and trying to let their intuition guide them away from situations that are not in their highest good. So as I'm moving through your spread, I'm taking a look at what both of you are showing to one another. I'm seeing the feminine coming through with energy of movement. It seems to me that the feminine isn't holding any ill will towards the masculine at this time, simply because they're so focused on other things. But with the feminine, what I'm picking up on is very much this energy of, I am going to let people be where they choose to be, right? I'm going to let people have what they go after, whatever they want for themselves. If that's not me, I have to trust that the universe is showing me what I need to see so that I can release situations and make room for what is for me, right? It's not passive in the sense that you're like being walked all over, but it's more like going with the flow, right? Very going with the flow energy of, I'm not sending you hate. I'm not sending you shade. Whatever you wanted for yourself, I hope that works for you. I genuinely do, right? I need to find out what is meant for me. I'm not chasing. I'm not creating any resistance. The masculine is coming through with an energy of wanting to walk away from everything that they've built in their life because they're so depressed. They're so unhappy. And I think what's unfortunate is like with this energy coming from the masculine, they're very focused on like the fact that other people are not making them happy. Other people are not validating them, right? It's not about them per se. It's about what other people are not doing for them, versus the feminine that's like, I'm happy with myself and maybe I'm starting to realize that the people around me are not happy, right? They don't have anything to give to me, so they don't give to me, and it's not a reflection of my value or my worth. It's just more that I've leveled up and I shouldn't be in the environment that I'm in. The masculine is very like driven to this feeling of like, I'm not happy and other people are the problem. I'm not happy and other people are the problem and they need to fix it. You know, and I think that's the bottom line, is that the masculine, it's almost like they're trying to mirror the feminine in the way that the feminine has withdrawn, because they see the effect that it had on them when it happened. And they're hoping that they'll have the same effect on the people in their life, their immediate circle, if they try to mirror the behavior they saw the feminine take or do, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna cut people off. I'm gonna shut people out. I'm gonna, you know, hold my love away from everybody until they jump through my hoops, because that's how the masculine is perceiving the feminine. You know, the masculine is thinking that that's the vibe that the feminine was putting off when they decided to take a step back, was like an ultimatum, or you need to choose me or you can't have me in your life. And that's not what it is. So unfortunately for you feminine, who are kind of thinking like, you know what, I'm just going to vibe. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to take a step back from this and stop trying to control where this is going. And hopefully the masculine will like level up. They're not seeing it that way. They're seeing it as you trying to like keep your love away from them to teach them a lesson. And instead of them like leveling up and getting with the program, they just know that the love that you were giving is gone. They feel empty. They're looking to the people in their life to replace that feeling. And when those people aren't jumping through hoops or replacing that feeling, because they can't, right? They're not made for the masculine. So whatever they give them emotionally is not going to satisfy them. You get what I'm saying? But because people aren't jumping through those hoops, or giving them that really pure love that they were receiving from the feminine, they're now trying to follow suit with the people in their environment and play that role of like, well, I don't need anybody. I'm independent. You have to show me why you should be here. Da, 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 right? It doesn't seem like it's working out too well for the masculine because people are getting fed up with them, right? They feel like they're being childish. They're feeling like no matter what they do for the masculine's never happy. And so they're looking at the masculine as like, you're very selfish, you're very childish. And it's interesting to me because a lot of the things that the feminine could have said to the masculine, but chose not to, people in their life are now beginning to say to them based on the behavior that the masculine is exhibiting. Okay. As far as your oracle cards for your masculine, you got, I don't know how to fix this. And it's in the reverse. You make me so happy is also in the reverse, but in the upright, I have something to tell you and I want you. So what's interesting is like, this is moving so slow because we have like a lot of pentacles, no major arcana. The aha moment isn't like happening with the masculine. Whereas over here with the feminine, we have the tower in the reverse, we have the devil, we have the star, and what's being created is the world in the reverse. And then our minor arcana is the 8 of Wands. So everything moving very fast, happening very quick, and having some like really big intuitive breakthroughs, which I feel like in some ways only kind of creates more distance between the masculine and the feminine. Because when the feminine went into isolation, there was the thought process of like, okay, if we have time apart, perhaps my masculine will level up. But it's almost like it backfired in the sense that now the feminine is going to be leveling up even more. And the masculine is just getting into a place where they're finally understanding that the feminine's love was something, right? It was something. I don't know what, but now that it's gone, I feel like I'm missing something and nobody's giving me what I want and everybody here sucks. You get what I mean? So let's take a look at your next card. You have the Tower reverse for the feminine, 4 of Pentacles for the masculine. So we're taking a look at how you're each viewing one another. Again, like I said, this is the masculine feeling like the feminine is withholding on purpose, you know, trying to upset them, trying to teach them a lesson. And like I said, it's completely backfiring. Instead, it's like they're just becoming really difficult to deal with for the people that are in their lives. And they're doing to those people what they perceived you did to them because they don't like the way that they feel, right? The masculine is in a place of viewing the feminine as being like mean almost, right? You had an opportunity to commit to me. You had an opportunity to be with me. And all you want to do is create conflict. It's like you want to break my spirit. You want to make me be your servant or subservient to you and tell you all the things that you want to hear. And it's interesting because out of desperation, it feels like the masculine is getting into a space where they would do that. But it's hard because I'm not seeing anything here that's making me feel as though it's genuine. It's just kind of more like, I want to see how much you still care. Is there a way that I can reel you back in, right? Whereas now the feminine is looking at the masculine and saying like, hey, you know, they're avoiding having to do the work. Now they're in a space of blaming their environment, their job, their family, their friends, their exes, everything but them. Like they're doing everything that they could possibly do to not have to face the fact that they are the problem, right? And I think for you feminine, that's very difficult because it seems like that's a lesson you learned a long time ago. And you know what that creates, right? When someone's not willing to be accountable, they give up their power to fix whatever the problem is. If they're blaming everything and everyone instead of looking at the part that they played in the situation, right? And so with the feminine energy, they're viewing the masculine as being a disaster waiting to happen because they're not willing to own up to the behaviors. They're not willing to do the work that's very difficult. For some of you feminine, you feel like your masculine is somebody who would rather like use people and be kind of this energy vampire, or an addict to try to avoid like what they don't want to think about. It's a very difficult situation, but I think that the feminine is very well aware of what this masculine is doing, even if you're not talking, right? And what's interesting is it feels like the feminine doesn't have like animosity towards masculine. You may have spoken to this person with that 8 of Wands. You may have been the last person to message this person, and it would be something along the lines of like being friendly or cordial. I'm not seeing anything here where it's like you're angry, right? So it's kind of weird that this person is having all these like really weird reactions to you simply not participating in their drama, right? So the next card we're taking a look at is how you're both feeling about your life and about yourselves. You, feminine, got the Devil, and the masculine got 10 of Pentacles in the reverse. I feel like with the feminine, you're having a really hard time as far as like you've disconnected from the situation, but nothing is feeling better for you, right? It's almost like if you gave up on your twin flame journey, or you've given up on like toxicity in your life, like toxic family or friends, it doesn't feel like anything's coming in to replace what you've been willing to release. You know, it feels like you're coming in with this energy where you're viewing your life as like, I work so hard and I try so hard to make things change, but it feels like no matter where I go, there I am, I'm stuck, right? For some of you, you're thinking about like moving. You could be thinking about doing something so big as like changing your name. There's an energy of feeling like there's kind of this dark cloud over your life, and you're trying to get to the bottom of that feeling, right? Why do I always feel so called to this person when I can see that they're not what's best for me? Why do I feel like things that I really want or that I really work for aren't coming into fruition, even though I'm doing the very difficult shadow work on myself? And so you feel very like kind of slighted, kind of like it doesn't really matter what you do or how hard you work. For some of you, it's almost like you're feeling like maybe you shouldn't have exited the masculine's life because nothing's happening in this time, right? There's no big epiphanies. There's no reunions. You're not calling in like a soulmate. There's this feeling of, you know, I guess I could have stayed where I was because at least I would have had this person. I'm not seeing why I was guided to make these very big moves in my life if it feels like now nothing is going to change and nothing's going to happen for me, right? And so for some of you, you are feeling some depression at this time. And part of what I'll say about that is you're picking up on how your masculine feels, okay? It's not anything that you're necessarily doing, but unfortunately, because you're so energetically tied to this person, while they're on this emotional roller coaster of like going up and down and being unhappy and hating their surroundings and hating everybody around them, you're picking up on that and you're kind of internalizing it. So some of you may even be experiencing some self-hatred at this time, like being overly critical of yourself or feeling like, you know, you're stupid or you've made bad choices or you're not attractive or whatever it is. Like there's thoughts here that you're aware of possibly not being your own, but it seems like they're so repetitive that it's really knocking you out of alignment with what you're trying to create because you're having a hard time seeing the positive side of your life at this time. So maybe try to just like block that energy, send that energy back to where it came from, because for the majority of you, what I'll say is it's not your energy. It's not your thoughts. Or if you do have those thoughts as like a passing thing, they're being amplified so greatly based on what this masculine is feeling. Okay. As far as masculine, their life right now, they I don't mean to laugh, but they're like a person with no country. There's nowhere for them to be. They need to strike out on their own and find their happiness and find the people that will worship them. You know, it's like they have this feeling of, I've put so much work into all these stupid people around me, and none of them will ever see my value, and I have to go be independent. So I guess if you've been dealing with a masculine who's very codependent on like a substance or a karmic partner, this could be them turning the corner, I suppose, because they're feeling really fed up with where they are. They feel like they need to commit to themselves, that they need to go back to being alone. They need to think. They just need time. I just feel like this is all quite dramatic, right? It's them kind of having this like tug of war with themselves, wrestling like with themselves and giving themselves all these reasons why they don't need to do what they know they need to do, which is just learn how to be independent and honest and do some of that deep shadow work that they are avoiding, right? And for you feminine, I feel bad because you've been doing the work, and then it feels like there's more work because you're picking up the masculine slack in the connection. You know, some of you may have been feeling very overtired, very defeated, very frustrated. Maybe you're feeling like you're praying and it seems like nothing is happening, right? Or maybe you don't feel as close to spirit or your spirit guides or whatever you believe in as you used to, right? Towards the end of the reading here, we're closing out with the Star and the Four of Swords, which is how you're feeling about each other and about the relationship. So for the feminine, you know, another major arcana, you're feeling very much like the relationship had to come to an end if you're ever going to get back together or if you're going to attract a soulmate, right? When you're looking at this relationship, you feel like it made you a better person. But I think at the same time, you know, what you're seeing through your eyes in the 3D is very upsetting because it feels like even though you've done the work, you're not reaping the rewards, right? You have had opportunities to heal, possibly from like trauma that you were going through before you met this twin flame. It feels like you've been able to have a deeper connection with yourself in a lot of ways and be able to identify like certain areas of your life where you're giving up your power or cycles that you've been putting yourself in that you don't need to be in anymore. So that's very positive, right? But at the same time, like with this devil energy and this Tower reverse energy, it feels very heavy. You know, I think if somebody sat you down and asked you your thoughts about your twin flame connection, you would have more positive to say because you'd be looking at like the bigger picture rather than just, you know, the minor details. But I also think like behind closed doors, you know, there is a lot of wondering like what was the point of this in a lot of ways, right? You're viewing your masculine as somebody who needs to go to rehab. And what's interesting is like, I think that they feel that way as well. So if that's something that you've been hoping for or praying on, it seems like they're picking up on that and starting to feel that they need to look into like sobriety or changing their lifestyle in some way. As far as the way that you're viewing your masculine, you feel like there's somebody that as much as they need someone to love them unconditionally, there's almost this feeling of like, I don't want to take from me to give to you when I know what you're going to do with my energy. And also, no matter how much I give to you, it's never enough. And so it's really interesting that now the masculine is creating these interactions in their personal life where people are saying those very things to them, right? It's almost like the environment that the masculine is in is telling them everything and mirroring everything that you feel, because they're treating the people in their life kind of in this really weird way, like that they expect validation, they demand, they deserve. It's almost like the mask has slipped. You know, if you were a feminine who always saw your masculine treat everyone better than you, now that you've left, the masculine is treating everybody the same way that they treated you. And I think it's because subconsciously they're thinking that's what's going to make people give them whatever you gave, but instead it's having an adverse effect, and people are like, screw you, buddy. Like, I don't need to do this with you. You get what I mean? And so it's interesting because what you're feeling about your masculine, it's almost like they've created their own little hell, where even if they're away from you and they don't have to look at you and think all the things about like how they've let you down or how they've treated you bad, they've actually created an environment for themselves where they're being reminded of who they are and how they treat people constantly now. Okay. As far as how the masculine is feeling for the feminine, we have the Four of Swords. So I think masculine's really worried that feminine is just kind of in this space of taking a break, but with the intention of getting back out in the world, right? Masculine knows like it's only a matter of time before feminine will want to not be isolated. Because the thing is like, feminine decided to isolate by choice. Masculine is being isolated because they're an ass. You get what I mean? And so this isn't really by choice for them because they're rubbing everybody the wrong way. And so they are just having to live in what they've created. Whereas with you, they view you as like, you could do something different at any time, right? And it's interesting because the feminine views the masculine the same way. You could do something different at any time. You could stop being, you know, this really lower vibrational, crappy person, and you could get on my level. You could get on any level. Any level is better than the level you're on, right? So you view each other a lot the same way. But for the feminine, they view masculine as needing like divine intervention. Like they would need a miracle to get with the program. Whereas masculine is very fearful because they know the feminine can do whatever, whenever. This is by choice, right? There's an energy of them wanting to have a conversation, wanting to have an opportunity to talk about all the things that they feel like they've learned in the time the two of you have been apart. And I'm sorry I laugh because I'm not really sure what that would be exactly. I think the takeaway would just be like, I've learned that I like the way you make me feel more than other people, right? There's kind of a feeling of that. Like, I've learned I don't like my life if you're not in it. But it's still very like me based, like what you do for me. I've actually realized what you do for me, or that I'm not that great of a person. But that's really kind of like where we're at. It's not some like big magical transformation here. So what's being created between the two of you is the World in the reverse. You have an opportunity for two things to end. I'll look into that in the extended reading. But I'm also seeing that there's an opportunity for decisions to be made. You'll each have a decision that you have to make coming up very soon here. It feels like there's something between the two of you that needs to be closed out. It could be energetically, because the feminine is still picking up so much on the masculine's energy, and vice versa, right? Because the masculine has found a way to recreate the experience they had with the feminine, in the sense that they're hearing the words that they know they deserve to hear, right? It's almost like they're acting out just so that they can hear disapproval from someone because they're disapproving of themselves so much. What I'm seeing here is that the situation, even if it feels like it's on pause, which that's how the masculine is viewing it, is like, this is a break, not a break up. It will start back again, is what I'm seeing here. I don't know if you want it to. It looks like there's a possibility of some sort of communication coming in by like New Year's Eve or the beginning of the year is what this looks like. So I'm going to take this to the extended reading because I want to see what will be created through this world in the reverse, what kind of decisions the two of you have to make, and how that's going to affect both of you. I want to see what your feelings will be about each other after this world in the reverse energy activates, because this really is what's coming next. And it feels like with the feminine, they've completely given up. And the masculine is like, no, this is something that I actually realize I want, and it was beneficial to me. So if you are interested in hearing what this will bring into your life, The link is in the description box down below, and I will see you over there. For those of you who do not join me, thank you so much for visiting, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye. So we're starting the reading off with the world in the reverse. That's where we ended in the public reading. It's looking to me like we've got kind of this come back around. I don't know that it'll go exactly the way either of you are expecting, though. Feminine is coming in with who is that in the reverse? Tell me you still care in the reverse. Masculine is coming in with they're not you in the upright. I let you down in the reverse. So what's interesting to me is that it seems as though whoever the masculine is dealing with currently in the future won't be as much of a big deal, because it seems like the masculine is almost not just moving away from everything and everyone, but there's an air of like secrecy here that I'm seeing. So for you feminine that are watching and you're like, oh yes, my masculine is leaving their karmic partner, I wouldn't necessarily say that's the case. If anything, the masculine is